If you don't have any savings, like the majority of Americans, you cannot afford to own your home. And when I say you can't afford to own your home, I don't mean that you're not going to get approved for a mortgage. I mean you can't actually afford it for your own personal wealth. If you go out and you buy your own home without any savings, you are putting your future financial freedom at risk. I own a lot of real estate, and I can tell you that with real estate comes repairs. Anytime I buy a property, I do multiple inspections. First, I inspect the property. Then I hire a private property inspector. Then the city inspector inspects the property. Then my contractor inspects the property. And then my property manager inspects the property. I go through 5 different inspections anytime I buy a property. Still, things break and they go wrong. It is not cheap to fix an electrical issue. It's not cheap to fix a plumbing issue. And it's not cheap to fix a foundational issue. The reason why I'm emphasizing this so much is because 65% of Americans are homeowners. So if this chart represents America, 65% would be 25%, 50, 75. So 65 would be something right around here. So this is 65% of America, and these are the homeowners, which means 35% of America are renters. Well, at the very same time, 70% of Americans do not have $1,000 saved up for an emergency. So let's look at this from the best case scenario. Let's assume that all of these renters, this 35% of America, do not have $1,000 saved up for an emergency. That means there's still another 35% of America that does not have $1,000 saved up for an emergency. So remember, this is 65%. So now, if another 35% of this 65 does not have $1,000 saved up for an emergency, that is more than half of the homeowners in America. So only 30% of Americans have $1,000 or more saved up for an emergency. And that means that the very best case scenario is that 1 out of 2 homeowners have $1,000 or more saved up for an emergency. Half of American homeowners do not have $1,000 sitting in the bank account to protect them from a broken pipe. Remember this chart next time your cousin Bunty tells you, yo man, you have to own a home because the mortgage payments are so much cheaper than rent. Yeah, your mortgage payment is less than your rent, but your credit card bill to fix your plumbing isn't. Let's talk about your down payment for a second. Do you want to know who wants you to own a home besides your cousin Bunty? The government and your bank. And what they do is they make it more accessible for Americans to own a home by reducing how much of a down payment you need. Doesn't that sound nice? Home ownership is more accessible for Americans. So what do? They lower your down payment requirement. That way you can buy a home with little to no down payment. There's only one problem with that. People who can't afford to own a home shouldn't own a home. Why? Because they can't afford to own a home. Now, just because you can't afford to own a home today does not mean that you can't ever own a home. It means you can't afford to own it today. I want you to be able to own your home and be able to afford it. Because if you can't afford to own your home, then what happens is your home ends up owning you. Do you want to know what happens when you have a ton of people owning a home who can't afford to own a home? You get a repeat of 2008 because real estate prices don't always go up. And so now, if the economy slows down and you have a ton of people who can't afford their homes, then these people are going to have to walk away from their homes because they don't have the means to protect themselves from an emergency. And so then you have a real estate crash. If you want to afford the home that you're buying, you need to have a minimum 20% down payment. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, you need to have $80,000 in cash to put down to buy the home. And it's not just me saying this. Your bank is saying this too, just indirectly. Because if you don't have 20% to put down on your home, your bank charges you an extra fee called PMI. PMI is mortgage insurance, but it's not mortgage insurance for you. It's mortgage insurance for your bank that you have to pay. See, your bank is kind of worried that they're going to have to foreclose on you because they know you didn't have the money for a solid down payment. And so if the bank forecloses on you, they're going to lose a lot of money. So what do? They make you buy the bank's insurance through PMI if you don't have enough money for a solid down payment. Debt to income. If you have a lot of credit card debt and student loans and a car payment, you should not go out and buy a home because the solution to your debt problem is not going out and taking on more debt. But Jaspreet, my cousin Bunty told me that buying a home makes me wealthy because I'll be building equity. The solution to debt is not more debt. Right now, you need to rent a small place and use all of your extra cash to pay down this excess debt that you have. If you have credit card debt, your credit card company is skinning you alive. And right now, your sole focus should be to pay down your high interest debt. That way you can afford to buy a home. Just because you can't afford to buy it today does not mean that you cannot afford to buy it ever. You need to get your money right. That way you can buy a home and actually afford it. That way you can enjoy your home. Fourth, if you have cash in the bank, you have money for a down payment, and you have very little debt, but you have a bad credit score, then your bank is going to charge you twice as much as they're going to charge somebody with a perfect credit score to buy the exact same home. I get it. You want to buy a home and you want to buy it right now, but this credit score is going to make it way more expensive than it needs to be. So fix that first. That way you can get a good rate on your mortgage. And fifth is your investment cash. Lots of people fall into this trap of thinking that my home is the biggest investment. And so what they do is they go out of their way to buy the biggest home possible. And then anytime you have extra cash, you use it to renovate your home and you buy new things for your home because you keep telling yourself that your home is an investment and your goal is to one day be able to live off of the equity in your home. Owning your home is great. And it's really nice not to have a mortgage, but you do not want to fall into the trap where all of your money is going into your home because you think that is going to be the reason why you get to retire and be financially free. Buy investments, build income streams. It will give you a better return and it will let you sleep a whole lot easier. Plus, when you have investments outside of your home that you live in, then you can make money without having to sell the roof over your head. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.